Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we're here recording on Monday, September 11th, the day after the first Sunday of football season. We had a pretty good first weekend, right, Dad?
Yes, it was great. We had football back. We got to meet a lot of new people at the bar at Frankie's. It was a wonderful time. We went up to a lot of different tables and talked to some of the newer people. Find out, asked them how they heard about the place. And we had, I believe, a record for this early in the season. We had over 100 people at the game, which I don't have to tell you was pretty amazing. We had a blast. Of course, you can hear it in our throats.
Yeah,
we're we got the hot tea going tonight and a little bit of lemon in there, and we're just trying to get through this.
I couldn't believe it how many people were there. I mean, obviously, when we were in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game, it made a lot of sense. But for a week one opening game, I couldn't believe it. It was so much fun. There were so many people. It was so electric at times. But throughout the game, or not throughout, but beginning of the game, we went around and said hi to people, and it was just really great to see you all. We really appreciate you all coming out and supporting Frankie's and supporting the club. Once again, just for all the people who are joining in for the first time, maybe Frankie's at Powers and Galley in Colorado Springs. We meet there for every game. You can follow the page on the Philadelphia Eagles fan club of Colorado Springs on Facebook. We'd love to have you come on down. Please join in the fun. I mean, you're not going to regret it. Today we're going to be going over a little bit of a recap of the game yesterday. I know you'll all be listening Tuesday, so a few days ago, but we'll refresh your memory. But we're going to be going over the game. We're going to be talking about some injuries, some roster moves, some plays around the league, and then we're going to be going over some other stuff later on in the end. But to start us off, we're going to jump right into the recap of the game. The Eagles won 25-20. That's great. Love it. At times, wasn't amazing, but I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Dad. What do you think of the performance on Sunday?
Well, that first quarter was incredible. We had a defense was awesome. The offense was moving the ball. We knew it was going to be trouble because of the rain. Like we said, it was going to be rainy and windy and cold, and it lived up to expectations. They were running the ball early, which is what we kind of predicted they would do. We were hoping they could throw it downfield. They were having trouble with that early, but that first quarter was great. Some turnovers. The defense looked great. And then they went into a little bit of a funk there for about 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was a win as a win, and we're happy for the win. We're a little bit, bummed that it didn't work out. But, of course, we know why. There's reasons. They were a little bit rusty. Let's hope it's rust.
Yeah.
Patriots have a great defense. Belichick, great coach, defensive coach.
Yeah.
Some of the things didn't go our way, some questionable things here and there, but
yeah,
it was a win, and we got to turn it around this week, and we're playing in 3 days. So
absolutely, yeah, I do agree with you. A win is a win, and you have to say that because a week 1 win, it's different than a week 18 win, or a week 17, but whatever. A week 1 win, it's different. It means a lot because everyone's going to be rusty, especially teams that didn't let any of their starters play in the preseason. So, that was our starters' first time out there in the game, on the field this year. And, I mean, to put up 25 points, of course, the defense gives you 7 of it and maybe 14. But, still it was great to see. And some of the players played phenomenal. Some of them not so much. We really hope to see more. But we're going to go ahead and jump over to the players that we selected. Last week, we each chose a player that we were excited to watch play in this first game. I believe I chose Jalen Carter, and I believe my dad chose Nakobe Dean. So I want to go ahead and pass it over to him, let him talk about Nakobe Dean for a bit.
So Nakobe Dean looked amazing early on in the game. He was coming up in his linebacker position. They were shutting the run down, which is incredible. I know that I don't have the stats, but I know the first 3 or 4 drives, they only ran for 5 yards or something. He was in there pushing away, and when the guys got past Davis or Cox or Carter, he was right there to stuff it. So he looked good. As the game went on, he had a little bit of issues. He ended up getting injured, as we know. He ended up with 7 tackles, 4 solo tackles. So he did his job. We were real excited to see him. He looked really good. I was hoping that he could have played the whole game and been in there, but luckily, we did enough on defense to win. But he did great.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. My player was Jalen Carter. It's funny because looking at his stats, got the breakdown here: 1 sack, 1 tackle. Those stats do not show what he did on the field that day. He was all over the place, and he was constantly in Mac Jones' face. Unfortunately, Mac Jones was able to complete some great passes. He played really well, but Jalen Carter, man, he was just back there. He was behind the offensive line all day. He got back there at least 5 or 6 times, and I'm guessing he only played 30 to 40 snaps, in this rotation defense. But he was back there so often and so much. It was incredible. I'm really happy to see him. I'm really happy he got that first sack. I know my player was Jalen Carter, but I'll touch on Jordan Davis too, man. He played phenomenal. Six sacks, I think. I have him right here. I have the 6 sacks. Had 6 tackles.
Yes.
Had half a sack. He was phenomenal too. But yeah, very impressed with Jalen Carter. A+. Can't wait to see more from him. I'm gonna have to have it's going to be hard for me to not choose him every week, so I'll do my best. But at some point, I know I'm going to have to choose him. But
yeah,
we're going to go ahead and run on over to our roster rundown. More so, just this can be talking about the choices of the game, who went down, who came up, who we left behind, everything like that. For the roster rundown, our inactives of the game were quarterback Tanner McKee. No surprise there, really. Running back Rashad Penny, bit of a surprise. We'll talk about that in a second. Cornerback, backup slot receiver, corner, nickel corner, Mario Goodrich. Cornerback, Eli Ricks. Offensive lineman, guard, and tackle, Tyler Steen. Defensive tackle, Moro Ojomo, and tight end, newly acquired tight end, Albert O. I don't want to try to pronounce his last name because I know I'm going to butcher it. But any surprises for you there?
No, well, like you were saying before, I thought Penny was going to be there. I didn't expect – I know you pulled it up probably an hour or two before the game, and we kind of looked at it and went, oh, okay, that makes sense. But Penny was kind of a question for us. We wanted to see all 4 of those guys touch the ball and see what happens. Hopefully they, could run the ball behind that offensive line we've got, but we didn't get that. We didn't get that at all, really. But unfortunately, Penny was kind of a strange, not.
I agree. I was very surprised. I was a little bit surprised by Tyler Steen as well. I thought they would have brought him up over Sua Opeta. But Sua Opeta does have the experience on top of him, and he has played guard and tackle, and he knows special teams pretty well as far as field goal and extra point and stuff like that. So I understand that, but still was a little bit surprised. Moro Ojomo didn't get over in on Contavia Street. Kind of a surprise there for me as well. But other than that, Rashad Penny is the biggest one. As far as the practice squad, we did pull up 2 players, not surprising at all. They were our punter and punt returner. Aaron Sipos was pulled up. He had 4 punts for 50, 46, 54, and 47 yards with an average of 49.3. Tell me how you think he played.
Well, he was a huge part in that game. We were not moving the ball at all in the second quarter and the third quarter, which is unfortunate, but he had some good punts. We had some good punt coverage. I believe they only had 1 good punt return. Blocking it back wasn't called, but that's quite all right. It was a nice shove, but we still – and he was actually in on that tackle. I don't believe he made it, but he was cutting the guy off the sidelines.
Yeah.
But, he did well enough to maybe let us back off him a little bit. I did want to say something to us about Jordan Davis. Last year, everyone was, oh, my gosh, he should be – he played great. He's definitely an heir apparent to Fletcher Cox.
Absolutely.
He, week 1, he was amazing. He was stuffing everything. But back to the punter, he was amazing, and it really he was an integral part in that game. Without some good punts from him, we would have been in trouble. I mean, I know there was one he put him down there like the 20-yard line, really inside the 20, and. We needed every bit of that. Every bit of his punts we needed yesterday.
Absolutely. And I mean, he's going to get, he's not going to get the blame as much, but really he kind of is because he punted those 4 times with 197 yards, but we were losing the field positioning battle all day. I mean, we were inside our own 20, probably, in 10, probably half the possessions we had. Whereas New England, they were starting at the 35, the 40, almost the 50 sometimes. And, Sipos, it doesn't look good on the video to them, but to everyone, but he did a heck of a job. I really was surprised. I was impressed. I was worried about how he was going to perform under all the pressure. I mean, he knows what happened last year with the Super Bowl and the end of the season. And he performed well, and I hope this continues on. Of course, I would love to see more of him. And, he's a great holder on those kicks.
Well, I was going to say that. Let's not forget the kicks that Elliott made, which I know you've got down here somewhere, but he was banging them all day. And without his field goals, I mean, what, 56? 56?
Yeah, I have them listed off here. Yeah. 32, 56, 48, and a 51. I mean,
those 250s in the rain and the weather. I mean,
and at 48, it's almost a 50. I mean, like
that's, you're right, and we needed every bit of those points.
Yeah,
I mean, because it would have been a different game there. With the end, they had a drive for a touchdown, and we were able to sack them, I think, twice in that one drive.
Yeah, moving on to our next pull-up was Britton Covey, the punt returner. No surprise there. 2 punt returns for 30 yards total, a 5 and a 25. How do you think Covey was?
He looked fast, and, of course, I know we love guys that catch the ball.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that's first and foremost. Catch the ball, even if you're inside the 10. Let's, make that catch. We're not worried. I don't worry about him putting the ball at all on the turf. So, and then you give him a little bit of room. He's going to get you a 25-yarder, and that was huge.
Yeah,
that was absolutely. A big return.
Yeah, that was big. That was huge. Yeah, the biggest thing for me is punt return. I'm not a big return guy. I'm not big on let's kick return for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown. Yeah. To me, the most important thing is he doesn't fumble the ball. And I know last year he had that one fumble that technically was a fumble.
Right.
That was an early hit, and they didn't call it, but whatever. He doesn't fumble the ball, and I want a guy who's going to catch the ball. I don't even need a return. I don't need 2 yards. I don't need 5. I want someone to catch the ball and not put it on the ground. So to me, Covey did a great job. I'm very happy about that one. Moving on to our biggest surprise, and we talked about it a little bit ahead of time, but we do want to touch on this more. Rashad Penny not being on. I know you kind of spoke about it, and we want to see all 4 of those guys. I don't understand the point of bringing him here if he's not going to play. And I know I love Boston. I'm one of the biggest Boston Scott fans in the world. I shouldn't have said I love Boston because I don't. But I love Boston Scott.
Yes.
And it's just I'm one of the biggest fans of him in the world. But the kick return, if he's being brought up because of the kick return, that's great. But other than that, he only had 1 carry for 3 yards. Right. Or no, I'm sorry. He had a catch for 7. So 2 touches for 10 yards total. But I just don't – if he's being brought up for the kick return, solely that or mainly that, it just doesn't feel right because the kick return, that's disappearing. We're losing the kick return.
I believe he had a return. He had a rush when we were inside the 10. Okay. I think so. I think that was and you're thinking, okay, here we go. He's going to sneak it in.
Yeah.
But he didn't get very far. I believe that's where he had his carry. But he needs also a change of back. We need your quick backs, and then you pop him in, and they don't know how to stop him.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Penny definitely needed to see the ball, and of course they didn't even really use Swift that often. He missed one pass that was probably too low anyway, and it was short of sticks by 10 yards, 5 yards. But I want to see him run the ball on an out pitch. I want to see an RPO where he takes it to the left or to the right. That's what I want to see. That's why we got Swift.
That's why we have him. I agree with you. We have him because of the versatility, and they just did not. They didn't diversify the offense at all this game.
More of a tackle guy. We know that. So is Scott. But I mean, Swift can take it on the outside, and I wanted to see that.
Absolutely. So
then you got is it going to be Hurts? Is it going to be him?
So hope to see more. I don't want to say more of Rashad Penny. I hope to see Rashad Penny at least once soon. I mean, I don't know. I didn't understand it. I know you only can bring up so many guys. You can only bring up 46 guys, and then 48 plus the 2 from the practice squad. So, you only got 48 guys to bring up. But I think he'd give more than some of the people who probably didn't play at all. But move on. We're going to go ahead and have a little injury report from the game. I know we talked about Nakobe a little bit more, but my father's going to go a little bit more in depth on that. What do you have on Nakobe?
Well, he's going to be out 2 weeks, multiple weeks. I believe it's going to be a month. I believe they're going to put him on that IR. I think he can get 4 weeks out of him. So we did sign a new guy, Rashawn Evans. He's played before. He had 159 tackles last year. So he's a good player. I mean, hopefully he was a first-round pick in 2018, so he's a little bit older. But, we still have Morrow on the practice squad and Van Simmeren. So, Van Simmeren, you never know, another undrafted rookie.
Absolutely. I mean, he's wearing the same number as my boy T.J. Edwards did, so we'll see.
Tackle machine. Absolutely. We've seen a lot of that in the last few years, with guys that are undrafted that we bring in. But, our linebacker position is definitely depleted now.
Yeah.
We had a lot of hope in Dean, and now hopefully we can get through these next few weeks without him, and we'll see how he comes back. But he hurt his foot I haven't been able to find out what he actually did to the foot.
I know, yeah, it hasn't been released too much so far yet. But, yeah, I know we talked about he was wearing a boot at the end of the game. He was walking off with a boot. It's hard. It's painful to watch because we really were so excited for him. I thought he was going to be great. I'm really excited. And he was playing well.
No, he was playing great.
You mentioned
yes,
it.
he was playing great.
It's hard to see a young kid like that go down his second year, his first year really starting. Yeah. It's hard to see that happen, especially on a team where he has all of his friends. You just don't want that to happen. And he's a great kid. It's funny for me to say kid. I'm only 25, but he's younger than me, so he's a great kid.
But he needs to play. He needs to be on the field.
He does.
We can't, we need to know now if he's the guy.
Absolutely.
We need to know, and hopefully he does come back and everything's good. So hopefully for the next few weeks they can fill in and do some more. The other injuries we had, Cox went out for a little bit. I think he got kicked in the ribs. Yeah. He did an MRI. He's going to be fine. Good. And then Blankenship went down on that one tackle where he got kicked in the chest. And he was back in the game. So
he went back in. Yeah, I have the full injury report for today, for today's practice. Was Reed Blankenship. Go ahead.
Barry.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead. At the top, we had Reed Blankenship with his ribs, did not participate. James Bradbury had a concussion, didn't practice. Great job to Josh Jobe filling in for him on the last drive. He was able to cover him enough to the sidelines where he stepped out. So Fletcher Cox ribs, Nakobe Dean foot, and then Kenny Gainwell ribs. I didn't hear anything about that yesterday, so I'm assuming that's mostly just a rest kind of thing because he played. He had a lot of touches yesterday. Let me pull it up.
No, you're right.
He had 14 carries and he had 4 catches, so 18 touches. That's pretty nice. So
it's a lot.
Yeah, so he had a lot on him yesterday. So probably just a rest day for him, I'd say, and might have gotten hit in the ribs during a tackle or something, but. Nice to see that AJ's not on the list after that massive hit in the second quarter that Jalen led him into. That was painful to watch, man, both for me as an Eagles fan and my fantasy league.
Collective gasp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big gasp.
When he walked up and it was fine, I was very happy. But moving on, we're going to go ahead and talk about our MVPs of the game. Starting off, I'll pass it on to you, Dan. Go right ahead.
So my guy that I thought was kind of under the radar, but also played very well, was Ed Reed Blankenship. That's great plays. 12 total tackles, 9 solo. He made a few plays in the end of the third and early in the fourth quarter. One of them was forcing a holding call on. He was held by one of the guards. I think it was one of the rookie guards they were using, which took it from a 3rd and 11 to a 3rd and a 21, and that was when they were at our 39-yard line. And then in the fourth quarter, he made a great tackle on our side of the field, which it was a 2-yard gain, and it was 3rd and 10 at the time. And they were at our 38. So obviously, I think they might have went for it or not, but yeah. he made a great open field tackle, and it was a 2-yard gain on a little pass out. So so Blankenship was my guy. He was amazing, and hopefully he continues.
Yeah, man, Ed Reed Blankenship. I think because I think that holding call that he forced, it would have been like 4th and 4. After that.
Right.
Instead, it was 3rd and 21, you said, I think.
Yes.
And then I think it became 4th and 17 or 4, something outrageous. And I think it took him out of field goal range, too. Right. But, yeah, man, great game by him. Love that guy. He's going to be great to watch in the future. And you can already see he's going to be a leader on this defense for some time to come. I mean, he's young. I don't know his exact age. Actually, I can click right here and kind of find out. But he's 24 years old, man. I mean, I know he played 4 years in college, so he was there for a while, got a lot of experience. But he flies, and he lowers that head and he puts that shoulder into you, man. Moving on, I'll go to my MVP of the game. I do have Jake Elliott, the kicker. He had 4 for 4 from field goals. I know 1 of 2 from extra points. That's always hard. I don't like seeing that. Not a fan, but I can say rainy day. Very rainy day, hard terrain, hard to get your footing. So that hopefully that's what happened. That did happen last year in Jacksonville when he missed his extra point. And I think a field goal then. It was rainy, so hopefully we don't have to deal with rain much more. But other than that, 4 for 4, he had a 32, a 56, a 48, and a 51, which is average of 46.75 yards. That's phenomenal. I mean, that's incredible. This guy's not talked about enough as one of the best kickers in the league. I know he did get a Pro Bowl a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, as an alternate or something like that. But he's becoming one of the best kickers in the league.
He is. Definitely. Yeah. The extra points, it's funny, being superstitious, that's one of the things you get that touchdown and then you miss the extra point. And it's kind of like that For me, a lot of people, but for me, the shoulders shrug a little bit. I'm like, oh, you just can't give away that. Yeah. It kind of takes away from that TD. But, that was unfortunate. And, the weather and all. But, I mean, he was banging a field goal, so I can't go against him on that. And, he was definitely, along with Sipas and him, our kicking game. So there's our special teams.
Yeah, that's the special teams of the week. I know. It's funny because then also there was 2 massive hits on special teams, and that guy didn't kick he didn't return a punt the rest of the day after that Josh Jobe hit. And before that, Sidney Brown got him really good. So, special teams, it's kind of funny. They played, that was our biggest worry going into the season, and it's almost like they played better than the other 2 facets of the game.
Well, I mean, it all came together.
Yeah, absolutely.
The offense was down, and hopefully we get that worked out there.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to keep a recording of last week's video because I did say Josh Jobe, he might be the best gunner in NFL history, and we're on our way.
Made a play.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so love to see Jake just kick those field goals. He's got it down, and he's just great. So moving on into other news, I'm going to pass it over to my dad for Baz's top 5. He's going to go ahead and talk about the top plays around the league, not including the Eagles game.
So what I had, and it's kind of quick, it's just a little thing here, but the touchdown Bijan had was amazing.
Amazing.
He pulled a Hurts cut, and the guy just flew by him, and he just walked into the end zone. That was amazing. McCaffrey 65-yard TD was beautiful. One of the plays of the weekend that I thought is really it was the anti-play of the weekend, and it was the Giants meltdown last night. We got so much, pub and press last year in the playoffs, and then of course this year, they're going to be. They just didn't show up, guys. I mean, it was hard to. I didn't watch the game, obviously. It was already 26-0, and
by the time we got home,
we were still hanging out at Frankie's talking to all the people, and then we did see the blocked field goal. Giants moved the ball right down the field. Yeah. And after that, they just gave up.
I didn't watch the game after that. That when that play happened, I was like, all right, yep, I know what this is going to be.
The fourth thing I had was just the Rams' victory itself. That, to me, was a play of the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, we're watching our game and then all the other games are on. So I was trying to keep an eye, but it's too hard.
It's impossible.
You can't do it. You got to turn around. There's 3, 4, 5 TVs everywhere.
Because in commercial break, that's when you want to look at another game, but you forget and you just start talking to all of our friends, all the people at Frankie's. And then it comes back on and you run right back to your spot.
When the Eagles are on, we usually don't move.
Impossible.
Unless they're taking it back 70 yards on an INT, and then we're running around hugging and kissing on babies. Okay, and the other thing, the last one I had was the receiver Atwell. He was just incredible. I don't know if you saw any clips from him, but he was incredible.
Yeah, I was watching the highlights. Who does he play for?
For Rams.
Rams, okay.
Oh, my gosh. He was. I think he had 100-something yards receiving. I don't know who he is, but he was tearing it up when I was looking at the highlights last night. He was just destroying and doing great.
Check on that real quick. I got to see on Sunday. Real quick, I got Rams and Seahawks. Atwell, 119 yards. 2 guys with 6. Oh my gosh, he was 6 catches.
Yeah,
6 catches for 119. And that's a 19.8 average. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I was doing great. Yeah. So that's my plays of the weekend. Of course, I wanted to bring the Jets game up, but of course that's the game tonight. But I was, looking at the games, who's going to win. I was surprised the Packers won like they did against the Bears. I thought that was. I just didn't expect that.
Not at all.
I mean, another one that they hyped up. Of course, they hyped our offense up too, and it wasn't. So I know it's week 1, but it's not over yet. I mean, but
all right, we're 1-0, so that's all I care about.
That's what counts.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move on to a segment that we're going to try out. I hope to do this every single week. The head writer for Bleeding Green Nation, which is a Philadelphia Eagles fan website, Brandon Lee Gowton. He writes up a Eagles rooting guide where he talks about all 16 games of the week, or 15 of them because he doesn't usually do the Thursday night. But he breaks them down and he kind of says who we as Eagles fans should root for. They kind of go in order of some with the least amount of what's the word I should be saying here?
Weighted?
The least weighted to the most important.
Effective?
Yeah. Some that don't, the high stakes, I should say. The least stakes and the best and the highest stakes. Starting off, we're going to go ahead and talk about the division games. The Arizona Cardinals were playing against the Commanders, the Washington Commanders. Who did you want to win this game, do you think?
Well, I always cheer against teams in our division, obviously. Of course. So I wanted Washington to lose. It was a close game, way closer than I thought it would be.
Absolutely.
I mean, Hal was doing okay with Washington, but I wanted the Cards. Yeah. I'm kind of third, fourth Cards fan. I used to go to the games all the time when I was living in Phoenix, and but they used to be in our division too, so I used to cheer against them then.
Yeah.
Then when we changed divisions, I didn't so much.
Yeah.
All right.
So Washington won 20-16. The reasoning is pretty obvious. We got to root against the division for that. That's why we're rooting for the Cardinals. Moving on to the Cowboys and the Giants. Who did you want to win this game?
Let me look again. I think that I wanted the Giants to win.
Yeah, no, that wasn't going to happen.
No commentary on that one.
This one, again, obvious with the division. You want to choose the team that you think is going to be less good or worse than the other team to win, because then it hurts the other team more. But that wasn't even going to happen because the Cowboys knew they were going to win from the moment they flipped the moment they did the coin toss. Yeah, so Cowboys won 40-0. Yikes, my yikes. We're going to move on to the Titans and the Saints game, okay? Who did you want to win this?
Well, again, Saints are in the NFC, so I like to cheer against the teams in the NFC,
Yep.
plus the Eagles own theirs. What pick was that?
The second round.
Second round pick. So if they're the worst team in the league, it's our second first round pick there.
That's right. Yeah, we rooted for the Titans. Unfortunately, they lost, but the reason being the Saints. We do own the Saints' second round pick. So, if they're a bottom 3 team, we have a top 4 pick in the second round, which is kind of a first rounder. It's not, but it's close. It's a big deal. Those early second round picks are huge. Moving on, we're going to talk about the Panthers and Falcons. Who do you want to win this game?
I wanted the Panthers. I know it's
okay.
I think what does it say here that we should cheer for the Falcons, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So, but no, the Panthers. I always like the Panthers. Miles is there now, of course, but I liked the Panthers back in the old days. I just just like the team.
I get that. Yeah. I was cheering for the Falcons. I got some friends who are Falcons fans, and I do pity them a little bit. We were supposed to root for the Falcons because we don't want the Saints to win the division, obviously, or again with the draft pick. So we want another team. You want to choose the team that probably has the best chance. The Falcons probably don't have the best chance, but the Panthers have a rookie quarterback, so I can't really go with that. And also the Falcons have the NFL's easiest schedule projected win total, so I think it'll be easier for them to win the division over the Saints. But moving on, we got the Buccaneers and the Vikings. This one was a weird one for me. You go ahead. Who'd you want to win?
I did not want the Vikings to win.
Not a chance.
I'm not a Vikings guy.
No.
I had some friends that were from Minnesota, and they loved them, and I know they've been a franchise that's been snake bitten for many, many years. But I don't like Tampa Bay either. Because of the history they have with us.
Yeah.
I like our history against the Vikings a little bit better, but I still didn't want them to win. I don't trust, although Baker looked good.
Yeah.
From what I saw, he was nailing. But I don't think it's going to last. I think they're going to be a bottom feeder.
Yeah. Now, the point that he makes on here was that the Eagles, we do have a 5th round pick for each of these teams in 2024. So, we're kind of looking at the draft pick. But for me, he chose the root for the Vikings, and there's just no way I can do that. I am one of those fans who now considers it a rivalry. I don't like the Vikings. I just can't get on board with it. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is going to be the best wide receiver in NFL history, and we had the chance to draft him. So I'll never forget that. I'll never forgive that. But so I just can't cheer for the Vikings. I was very surprised by the Bucs winning. They won 20-17, but not for me. I couldn't root for the Vikings. Moving on to the next game, we have the Texans and the Ravens. I know this one doesn't have an NFC team in it, much like all the other ones had an NFC team in it. This one doesn't, so it's kind of one we don't care about. But who'd you want to win?
I didn't care about it at all. I would say of the two teams, I'm not a Ravens fan, although I like the coach. He used to be with us, but now he's kind of turned on it, so I'm not a big fan of his anymore.
Yeah.
But that's how it works. When the teams are up and coming, you want to cheer for your old head coach, your old special teams coach, and then when they have success, you kind of cheer against them. Andy Reid and the Chiefs. I was pulling for Andy Reid years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm not so much of a fan.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I still like Andy Reid, but I don't want his team to beat us. Yeah. So, okay.
To jump back up real quick to the Buccaneers-Vikings, I forgot. I wanted to give a shout-out to my friend Juice, who lives up in Denver. He's a Vikings fan. Go Birds, bud. And especially this Thursday, go Birds. Moving on, so still on the Texans and Ravens. I did want the Texans to win. He wanted the Texans to win as well, and by he, I mean Brandon. I want the Texans first of all, because I love D'Amico Ryans. He was a great linebacker for us. Should have been a Pro Bowler, should have been an All-Pro perennial. He was phenomenal. But I really want him to be a great coach, and he already is. Hopefully he turns this team around. I like Texans because they beat Dallas sometimes, and it's nice. And then they get to claim Texas, and I like that. But yeah, I'm not a big Ravens guy in Lamar. I just not a big fan. Moving on to the 49ers and the Steelers. This one's kind of easy for this. This is the section where we're at we're kind of at the most important games because of the NFC playoff picture. Go ahead and start off though.
I was pulling for the Steelers. I expected a little bit more out of them. I didn't expect the Niners to roll up on them like they did. I think Kenny Pickett's a good quarterback. I know he's still green, but that's all I got.
Yeah, okay, guys. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I was very, very surprised. I did expect the Niners to win. I wanted the Steelers to win, but wow, was that sad. I mean, that's the second biggest blowout of the week behind Dallas, I believe. Yeah, very, very, very disappointing outing for them. I'm sure Mike Tomlin's not too happy about that. Wanted to root for the Steelers, of course, because we want to see the Whiners lose, and it's going to be a big deal in the NFC playoff picture later this year. Moving on to the Packers and the Bears. This one is the one that surprised me the most this week. What do you got?
Yeah, I was pulling for the Bears, but I'm really not a fan of many teams in the NFC Central. But I didn't want the Packers. I'm not a Packers guy.
Yeah.
It's going to change now that Rodgers is gone. But the teams they shove down your throat on TV and talk about incessantly when you're playing them, and you're still winning, but they're talking about the other player on the other team. It's too much.
The worst thing is when you're watching a team like the Packers or the Patriots, and they keep on going. Oh, they're looking to find a guy to fill the shoes of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and you're just kind of like, can we get on with it? Like, I mean, Tom Brady, of course. I know he's amazing. He's the best ever. But come on, like I don't have to sit here and hear about Tom Brady the whole game. I know
we even heard it in our game.
Yeah,
they
absolutely
honored him in that game. That's why we wanted to beat the pants off him. Yeah. We had the opportunity and we didn't take it, but we still won. So I guess a heartbreaking loss is better than just a blowout. So let's go with that.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's hope for that.
Not for me, but for their fans in the stands. Which I had some friends in the stands
really
at the game. Yeah, and she said there was a lot of Eagles fans there as well.
Oh, wow.
Which the Eagles travel great. So
absolutely, yeah. Moving on to, I'm going to stay with the Packers and Bears. My apologies, got ahead of myself. Brandon wanted the Bears to win. It's hard for me because I don't like the Packers, but I was cheering for the Packers here because I got a little bit tired in the offseason of hearing about how Justin Fields has gotten better arm talent than Jalen Hurts, which means nothing. I can't stand hearing, well, he's got the better arm talent. I don't care. Wait till when does he have the better record? So for me, I'm just kind of like, I'm not a big fan of the whole Fields thing because they're pushing him to be MVP and either, he's going to take the next step and just leave me alone. So, I was cheering for the Packers there. That's where I disagree with Brandon. But moving on to the next one, we got the Rams and the Seahawks. It's an exciting game, surprisingly. You go ahead and take this one first.
Yes, it was. It was a very exciting game. And like I said, I was very surprised by the Rams. Unfortunately, they played the same time we did. So that's the other reason I don't like the late game. We call it late game here. It's 2:25 in Colorado, but in Philly, it's 4:25, and it's just too late. I like that 11 o'clock game, and we're done, and then I can go home, especially when we win, and enjoy all the late games. Because we're on the West Coast, so we see all those games, and we're part of it. But anyway, I wanted the Rams. I did not buy into the Seahawks. I know there was a lot of talk about them this year, and the other thing is they always beat us. For many, many years. The playoff game a couple years ago, cheap shot, nothing. Wentz got one snap, that whole thing. So horrible.
Yeah, I was cheering for the Rams as well. That's what Brandon thought we should all be cheering for. It says the Rams have the potential to not be very good, while he thinks the Seahawks might be battling the Eagles for playoff positioning later this season. So let's go for the Rams on that one. Still, overall, I kind of agree with you. It's a game I don't care too much about. I don't really have a dog in that fight. Is that a word? Is that the
yes,
word?
That's good.
Race? Horse in that race. Moving on to what's left is what it's called because these ones don't really affect us as much because they're mostly AFC matchups, but still maybe ones that might help us down in the long run. We got the Bengals and the Browns. What you got?
Nothing. I was just surprised. I mean, I'm trying to cheer for the Browns. My family, some of my wife's family is always Browns, so I've always had that to cheer for them. But I was surprised they blew the Bengals out like they did. The Bengals look sad.
That was crazy. I mean, right after paying Joe Burrow that much money, that was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that happened.
Even Deshaun's got all that money too now.
Yeah. On here, Brandon had that we wanted the Browns, and I can't really agree with that one because I'm with you. I've always cheered for the Browns, and even though they're not my team, of course, and I don't believe you can be a fan of two teams, they're my other team. My mom's from Cleveland, of course, and my whole family, a bunch of them. So I always wanted to root for the Browns, but once they got Deshaun Watson, I just can't do it. I don't have it in me to root for that guy. So I disagree with Brandon on that one. But I wanted the Bengals to win that, but that's okay. Moving on to Jacksonville and Indianapolis. We kind of had a horse in this race because my good friend Ben, shout out to my buddy Ben, he's a big Jaguars fan. So we really wanted to see them do well. What you got on this?
I was cheering for the Jags, too. I like their quarterback. And then, of course, the Colts, the coach thing. So,
yeah.
I mean,
That was Gannon for Arizona.
Well, they also got Steichen, right?
Well, Steichen, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, and not just that. The whole thing a couple of years ago when they took our quarterback guy, our assistant head coach.
Yeah, I remember.
Frank Reich. And when they took him, I didn't like that. Was kind of dirty, so I didn't like that.
Yeah,
but, so the Jags.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Same here. We were going for the Jags. Ben's a big Jags fan, so we were cheering for that. Also, again, the coach thing: Doug Peterson, Shane Steichen, but we got to go Doug EP on that one. I love Doug Peterson. I can't ever see myself cheering against him, but I probably said that about Andy Reid at one point, and now I'm the opposite way. So until the Jags beat us in the Super Bowl, I shouldn't even say it. Until they play us in the Super Bowl, I'm not going to be cheering. I'll always cheer for Dougie P until that happens. Moving on to the Raiders and Broncos game. We are in Denver territory in Colorado Springs, so a lot of Broncos fans out here. But who did you want to win this game?
Well, looking at the bar yesterday, there was about 5 Broncos fans, I think. So we had a pretty good numbers on them. But I don't like the Raiders. Never did. Never will. So, I mean, as enough said, Super Bowl 15.
Yeah.
They beat us. Just everything about them. I don't like their whole thing. So,
yeah.
And the Broncos, Russell Wilson, I never disliked him. I always liked him as a quarterback. I just didn't like Seattle. But that was more the head coach, not him. I like him as a player. So.
Yeah. Well, I have to say sorry to my friend Colby, who's watching, who's a big Broncos fan, but I was cheering for the Raiders as well. Not as well. Opposite of you. I was cheering for the Raiders. My brother and father-in-law are both Raiders fans, so I'm kind of impartial to cheer for them. I'm not a big Denver Broncos guy. I don't forgive Russell Wilson for what he did to me last year on fantasy, and I'm not a big fan of Sean Payton, so I can't really say I'd like to cheer for them maybe in a few years. But as for now, I was going for the Raiders. Brandon wanted us to go for the Raiders as well because he doesn't like Sean Payton either. Moving on to the next game, we have the Dolphins and the Chargers. This is probably the game I cared least about all day, which is funny because it ended up probably being the best game of the day. Who do you have for this one?
Yeah, it was the best game of the day. I really don't have a team. I mean, I'm still, even in the AFC, until later in the season, I might start. I'll find an interest. But week one, I really could care less. I guess you could say the Chargers, but I like the Dolphins as well. I don't dislike them. So
same for me. Yeah, the Dolphins is one of those teams I can't ever cheer against. It's kind of like if you cheer against the Jets or the Browns, or it's such a team. It's a team that's been just kind of abysmal. So I feel bad for the fans. Who hates Dolphins? Who hates the Dolphins? I don't think that's possible.
I also have one more comment on the Chargers. They moved from San Diego. My sister's in San Diego, and then of course Monique was a huge San Diego fan, and they were heartbroken. They took the team and just tore it away from them. So I guess I'd have to say Dolphins then. Even though I like the Chargers quarterback, the way they moved the team was bad.
Yeah, I would say I was rooting for the Chargers. It is still hard to go against the Dolphins, but I was rooting for the Chargers. But again, this team, Monique, my cousin's wife, is a Chargers fan, which I should also say her husband, my cousin, is a Raiders fan, so that's why I was cheering for them as well. But yeah, for the Chargers, I was probably cheering for the Chargers, but in the end, this one didn't. It just doesn't affect us as much. We'd like to probably see the Dolphins lose because that's a more realistic Super Bowl competitor, at least from what it looked like the other day. With Tyreek Hill, any team is great. And as long as Tua is healthy, man, he was lighting them up. And then, of course, they got Jalen Waddle and they got the defense. So probably should be cheering against the Dolphins because they look to be a pretty formidable foe in the AFC. But still, again, not too much not a horse in that race. Moving on to the Bills and Jets, of course, we don't have a winner right now. The game actually just started a few seconds ago, so we're actually a little bit behind, still 0-0, but you'll all know the score when you're watching this. Who do you got going? Who are you going for tonight?
All the Bills.
Absolutely.
Aaron Rodgers, enough said.
Yeah. So, to go back to the fact that I don't like the Packers. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. My father also agrees. Not that I don't think he's good. He's great. It's kind of like the Tom Brady effect. I hate who's good, unfortunately.
The other thing is the Jets. I've always kind of pulled for the Jets as well, just because teams that are mired in mediocrity for many, many years, you pull for. I mean, they haven't been to playoffs in many, many years. And, you kind of pull for a team when, eventually, if you're an NFL, you always pick somebody.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I'd rather see the Bills. little commentary on them. I don't believe they're going to make the playoffs this year.
Really?
I don't believe they're going to make. If they do make the playoffs, it's going to be 6th, 7th, 8th. They're not going to win the division. No.
Prediction time. He doesn't like predictions.
I don't.
That was
predict
interesting.
But they are. You could just see it, when you're up so long, and then you start that you only have their window. It's not that big. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got to go for the Bills on this one. Brandon says it as well. For me, just can't cheer for Aaron Rodgers, which is unfortunate because I'm same as you. I always pulled for the Jets, but I can't do it. I can't do it when they get these guys. So I'm going for the Bills on this one. Brandon has going for the Bills, like I said. The reason being, if the Jets lose this game, puts more pressure on them to beat Dallas next week to avoid dropping to 0-2, which could be a huge effect. So kind of light a fire under them. And it's funny because next week and every week every time he plays Dallas, I'm the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan in the world.
And his success rate is amazing. So you're right. I do have that card in my pocket as well. I pull it out every time he's playing, and he doesn't disappoint. I can say that much right now.
I used to say it all the time. There's only a few times in his career that I got to cheer for Tom Brady, and it was every time he was playing Dallas. And it was great because at one point he was 6-0. Of course, he lost his last one. But it was the one time I got to be a Tom Brady fan. So, and same with Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him, but there's one time I get to be a fan, and it's when he plays Dallas. So next week, we're going to be huge Aaron Rodgers and Jets fans.
So before you finish, I got one thing for you. Last week, you kind of hit me up off guard. I wasn't quite ready for a little question. So just give me your game time routine. What's your thing?
Oh, man,
what's your superstition? What do you do? How does it work?
All right, so usually if we play it, I guess it doesn't matter when we played this week because we went to the bar at 10:30. Didn't drink any beer, but we went to the bar very early. For me, usually if we play the early game, I wake up at 8 o'clock. I go and take a shower immediately. And when I shower, I use I'm a big Dr. Squatch guy give them a little plug. And I always use my pine tar because it's the green, with the tree and the pine, it's green. So I always want to do the green, the color of the Eagles. So I always shower with the pine tar, shampoo, conditioner, and soap. And then the pine tar face wash. Then afterwards, I do the pine beard oil, everything like that. Brush my teeth with the Dr. Squatch toothpaste. And then I get dressed, and when I get dressed, I always get dressed in the office, and I just, underwear, socks, shorts, shirt, and when I put it on, it's funny, I put it on more safely than any other shirt I've ever put on. I always put it on very, very calmly and safely, and take a few breaths and everything like that.
Same socks, same.
Oh yeah, same socks, same underwear, same shorts, same shirt. Until we start losing. For me, last year, it changes around. If you lose the first week, you can't wear the same shirt. You can't wear the same anything. You got to change it for week 2. But if you go, if you like last year, we went 8-0. At that point, you don't have to change it because you're like, no, we're still rolling. We got to work with this clothes. But if you end up going 1-4, then you're going to be wearing 5 or 6 different shirts that season until your team sort of figures it out. I remember in 2015, oh my gosh, I wore so many different shirts. Same with 2018 after the Super Bowl. I wore the same shirt all year. I've never worn that shirt again. It's hanging up in my closet. One day I'll frame it. But in 2018, the year after we won the Super Bowl, man, I wore a different shirt every week trying to figure out this dang team.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. And it's funny because we talked to a lot of people last night or yesterday afternoon at the bar, and a lot of them have their shirt. I mentioned it to a few people, and I didn't really get involved with asking a lot of people, but somebody picked their leg up. One of the new ladies that comes to the bar, and she showed me her socks. I wear them every week, and it's kind of funny. I know my wife thinks it's a weird thing, but
it is.
If you're not doing that, you're not an Eagles fan. I guarantee it. So
if you're not doing that, you're not a real sports fan. I mean, superstition's a part of every sport. Baseball more than anything, which is funny because I'm not a baseball guy, but. Jumping onto that. But today, of course, jumping to baseball, the Phillies did lose today, unfortunately. They have a doubleheader, so they are playing right now.
Okay, that was extra innings they lost.
Yeah, so they lost to the Braves.
Turner, another homer.
Of course. And Harper had one, too. But they're winning right now in their second game of the doubleheader, but we'll see, man. The Braves are the scariest team in the league.
We need split or at least get one out of there.
Absolutely.
Just for the wild card.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead and moving on to say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. You can watch us on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please, you can email us your questions or topics that you want us to talk about at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. We'd love to get some emails from you. We'd love to talk about the questions you have, or answer the questions, or talk about topics, whatever you want to do. We'd love for you to. We'd love to have that. But other than that, you got anything else for us?
No, just the fact that we had, talking to a lot of people yesterday, they had mentioned some of us had watched the podcast, and I said, well, let's give me some comments. Let's hear about it. What do you think? Is something we should say, or
Absolutely.
But anyway, other than that, no, I don't have anything.
Great.
Thanks.
Well, then, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy, I'm Basil,
and I'm Basil.
Go Birds.
Fly Eagles fly.